November 3rd, 2023, Godzilla Minus One released, and watching movies for me will never be the same. Shin Godzilla was originally released in 2016. At that time, it was one of the most critically acclaimed Godzilla films of all time, and was considered by some to be one of the greatest Godzilla movies since the original. And now, we're returning to those similar times again, with Godzilla Minus One, aka my favourite movie of all time, and the very first Godzilla movie to win an Oscar for Best Visual Effects. I have my fair share of strong points on what makes this film beyond the definition of perfect, and you're about to find out. This is my review on Godzilla Minus One, and what makes this film a must watch for any Godzilla fan. Warning! As of this writing, since Godzilla Minus One is still very limited in release, this video may contain spoilers for the Japanese movie. So for anyone that hasn't seen the film yet and doesn't want to be spoiled, feel free to click off the video now. First and foremost, the entire film feels like a classic Godzilla film adapted into modern day cinema. This is because of the film's use of 1960-like Godzilla elements, such as sound effects, music, and story. This works so well because it helps bring Godzilla back to his classic routine of destroying everything in sight and fighting back against the military in true classic fashion. The direction of this film is also, in my opinion, one of the biggest standouts of this movie. Takashi Yamazaki helps bring Godzilla back to his rampaging routine by using many other Godzilla film elements. Some best examples are the 1954 Godzilla, The Return of Godzilla, Godzilla, Mothra and King Ghidorah, Giant Monsters All-Out Attack, and Shin Godzilla, all while still being a very fresh, new, rebooted, and unique take on Godzilla. The budget of this film is what makes this film blow out every other film out the park. This film's budget is only $15 million. Let's say, for example, you're watching this film in person for the first time and say to yourself, yeah, this film definitely looks good. A bit weird looking, but still very good. So you decide to look at this film's small $50 million budget and notice it only being this much. And it just amazes you even more, because you're probably the type of person who also saw some horrible CGI and effects in many recent films. Take Marvel, for example. This further shows that not all films need to have a super big budget to look good. This also changes movies forever for a good reason. Just imagine what they could have done with $200 million on this movie. What this film also does well is making Godzilla himself look terrifying. Every scene, you could just feel his presence. Like the entire sequence with Godzilla chasing the boat in the water is all just perfect sense of terror. Like Jaws, but Godzilla. Like the whole film makes Godzilla look realistic. And the scene when Godzilla's dorsal plates spike up when he uses his atomic breath to create a mushroom cloud really shows how powerful Godzilla is to humanity. And also it's just a great reason to the film's title of how Godzilla turns Japan from worse to even worse. This film also does well on showing Godzilla as a massive force of nature. For example, when Godzilla roars and it echoes, it makes him feel massive, and also his scale is shown very well. Something else that really gets me to really like this film is how accurate it is to the aftermath of World War II. For example, Japan was one of the most affected countries during World War II. Its cities were destroyed, millions of people had died, and stockpiles ran dry because its industrial capacity completely collapsed, and thus couldn't produce more goods to make food. As the years go by, Japan has recovered a fair bit. However, due to the nuclear testing that caused the mutation of Godzilla, the city was destroyed once again. Godzilla comes ashore and destroys Ginza, placing Tokyo's levels down even worse, thus deserving its title, -1, for a good reason. Japan was already devastated by World War II, so its levels were already at 0, but after Godzilla's attack, the city is now -1. The music score is also excellent, as it does classic Godzilla music perfectly in 2023 cinema. I legit got massive goosebumps when I heard Godzilla's theme playing. During the train sequence, when Godzilla slowly approaches, you start hearing that classic theme song, completely remastered from Mothra vs. Godzilla 1964. Godzilla's iconic theme song also plays during the final conflict of the humans against Godzilla, utilizing their plans to destroy Godzilla. And it sounds better than ever, due to also using music from King Kong vs. Godzilla 1962. It shows Godzilla being the big star here, just like many other films, and it really does well on showing him as the big threat that Japan has to deal with. It also just makes the action more fun, as when good feeling music is playing during an action sequence, it pumps you up more, and gives that, come on, you got this type of vibe. One more example that makes this film great is the human characters. This is a rare example of human characters used correctly in a Godzilla film. Unlike other Hollywood Godzilla films, in which those humans characters were extremely lackluster due to lacking a good story or having some poor voice acting from their prospective actors, Godzilla -1 uses human characters fully here, as they actually have great chemistry with each other. It also makes you want to root for the human characters, so they can have a happy ending. Even if Godzilla wasn't in this film, you'd still want to watch this because of the human story. For example, Shikishishima, the kamikaze pilot, and Noriko, I loved their chemistry together, as well as the cute little girl Akiko. At times, I was actually wanting to see more of them together rather than Godzilla. I really hope we get some more human characters similar to the ones in this movie, as it just shows that with great kaiju action and great human characters, a very great kaiju movie can be created. And this truly does show. Everything about this film, everything else, perfect. The story, the characters, the acting, the music, the Godzilla action, the scenery, the themes, the visual effects, the sound effects. Everything. I got goosebumps hearing Godzilla's classic March theme song for the first time in the film, and also hearing his iconic 1954 roars. This is how a Japanese Godzilla movie is done right, and is the main reason why it's in a league of its own for me. What I loved about Godzilla is shown here, but better. Overall, everything you could possibly want for a Godzilla movie is in this. If you've been craving a good Godzilla flick after some of the most recent films being extremely lackluster, Godzilla -1 has you covered. This is an Oscar-winning film of 2023, and rightfully so. We need more films like Godzilla -1. Marvel needs to take notes. A $250 million budget versus a $50 million budget is huge. And that's not a great sign for Marvel, as some of the most recent films of it look so bad compared to this. Godzilla -1 will always be remembered as 2023's greatest movie. Sure, we've had some critically acclaimed movies like Barbie and Oppenheimer, but neither can come close to the greatness that is Godzilla -1. It's simply in a league of its own, and I hope many more viewers can give this film a watch, just to see the greatness that it truly has to offer. Even if not a super Godzilla / kaiju fan, this is currently my favorite movie of all time, and chances are very good then that will never change. Simply unforgettable. What is your opinion on Godzilla Minus One? Did you enjoy it as much as I did? Where does it rank overall on your Godzilla movie tier list? And if a sequel does get made, what are you hoping it does well for what this film did right? Let me know in the comments section below. And make sure to like the video if you enjoyed. And don't forget to subscribe if you're new to see more on my channel. Thanks for watching. Godzilla Minus One is the greatest of Godzilla, and simply in a class above the rest. With a budget this small, and some of the most engaging human stories, it is truly THE movie star of 2023.